What is a first mover advantage? Well, this is generally where you have a business that occupies the initial strategic position or niche in a given market. That is, they are the first player in a competitive market that is offering a given value proposition to customer clients and end users. So they set the stage for other entrants, other competitors to enter the market and offer a similar value proposition. Now, there are numerous advantages to being the first mover in a given product market. Number one, buyer and supplier relationships. You are establishing those early relationships that oftentimes very difficult for subsequent entrants in the market to establish in the same way or manner. So you have that early advantage. Next, standards or industry practices, if you will. If you're the first entrant into a given field, you primarily set the standards to which other businesses must live up. And in that way, this becomes quickly industry practices because those similar practices are adopted by all of the new competitors that are entering the market to compete with you. Third, brand recognition. If you're the first company offering this value proposition, oftentimes customers and clients will associate that value proposition with your company. Even when competitors enter the field, they still associate that specific type of value proposition with you. You oftentimes see value propositions take on the name of the company. In the 90s, photocopying was primarily called Xeroxing something. Now, Googling something is synonymous with looking something up. It's because they've become so dominant in the industry, and that oftentimes is a similar outcome for first movers. Next, economies of scale. Economies of scale means that you can do things in bulk or in larger quantities, and doing things in those higher scales reduces the cost structure or the effort that has to go into producing each individual unit. So as you scale up, your cost per unit or per hour of service provided, whatever, goes down. And this is called economies of scales because you're economizing as you scale up on a per unit or per item basis. And then lastly, switching costs. Once customers are attached to and accustomed to your product, there's oftentimes a pain point for them to switch to another product, and they're less likely to do it. Consumers tend to continue purchasing the type of product that they know and understand and are familiar with. The cost to a company to convert customers or clients over to their brand is known as switching costs. So switching costs become a real thing for subsequent entrants into the market. Now, there are some notable disadvantages to being first mover. One, you're the first mover and you don't know if your idea is going to work. That's why so many startup ventures are first movers in a given market, because they have a novel idea that hasn't truly been tested. So the idea may not be valid or feasible for business and thus fail. But most notably, others who see your effort oftentimes exploit that effort. They take the work that you've done, they take the trial and error, the research and development, the customer discovery, and then they can skip over all that effort, all that money and time that is spent into establishing the market, and jump right into a competitive position with you, piggybacking off of everything that you have already done. So they exploit your work at no cost so they can focus their resources and efforts on a product or value proposition that somehow is superior to yours. So that can be a huge advantage for them, that they don't have that cost structure to incur early on. So these are the major advantages and disadvantages, and what is a first mover and how that applies in the business competitive environment.